A nonprofit's ambitious attempt to reimagine Jesus for Gen Zs through the quote, He Gets Us campaign hides a disturbing secret, unveiling a dual identity, the Servant Foundation, behind the controversial Super Bowl ads and many others, is revealed as the primary financial source for an anti-LGBTIQ hate group. With millions poured into both ventures, the intricate web of financial dealings involves donor advised funds, adding layers of secrecy to a questionable flow of money. This investigation exposes the dangerous underbelly of a seemingly benign initiative and raises crucial questions about transparency and accountability in the realm of charitable giving. This article raises serious questions about the secret nonprofit funding for religious recruiters and the honesty and transparency of their programs. Will the recruiters refrain from exposing their bigotry until after the new recruits appear to be fully indoctrinated? This article is from opendemocracy.net by Sidney Bauer and Diane Ciobrini, November 22nd, 2023. Kelley, what do you think about that?
Well, first off, I want to welcome you, Richard, to your first nonprofit episode. I hope you enjoy yourself today.
Thank you.
I think it's really cool the nonprofits are talking about a nonprofit.
Yes.
My first thought, though, about the whole thing was, why did they got to do the whole thing in secrecy? They had to go through layers of not knowing who's giving money to what cause. Do they think they're working for the correct side or not? Or right? Do they think God and Jesus won't really protect them if these financial transactions were done out in the open? And then I started thinking about why this organization donated $3.2 million to the Museum of the Bible after it was found to have looted artifacts and had forgeries on display. The museum was obviously not up on the level, so it kind of got me off guard. And I wanted to know why a good Christian organization would support illegal activity like looting artifacts. It just doesn't add up to me. And I was honestly surprised that there was something like a donor advised fund that was set up to skirt these laws about donations. And it kind of blows my mind. I don't understand what that's really about. We're making a law about charitable deductions not being anonymous, and then you make another law setting up a scenario so that people can skirt the first law. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Jimmy, what do you think about all that?
Well, this kind of reminds me of my days where I was deployed overseas in countries where I should say just one country where the Taliban was operating alongside what was supposed to be constitutional democracy. So we had one government that was set up to kind of order the country, provide law and order. And then we had this other government that was operating in the shadows called the TBSG, or the Taliban shadow government in Afghanistan. And they operated their own government, and they really kind of controlled things from behind the scenes. And this is exactly what these groups that do this kind of clandestine, if you will, operations or operate in a clandestine way remind me of. And they are rivaling the power structures that have been put in place, not only because they are not beholden to paying taxes, but they're also infiltrating the government as well. And they're in many ways working against what we stand for, right? There was a book written in 1996 by the late, great Susan Strange, a scholar on international relations. And the book is called Retreat of the State. And in the Retreat of the State, she talks about this concept of international governments and domestic governments kind of waning away and non-governmental organizations kind of propping up in their stead. And this is kind of what the feeling I get from these governments that are not beholden to the same laws, yet they still try to influence other people and replace power politics with their own influence. In international relations theory, we have this thing called the Washington Consensus. There's also one called the Beijing Consensus. And essentially what that means is that not just Washington or Beijing, but any powerful country that donates money out does so in a way where the recipient of that money kind of changes their government a little bit or gives concessions to the lender, right? I feel like this is what's happening with these powerful Christian organizations. Hundreds of millions here, billions and billions here. $300 million for a Super Bowl ad. Think about where that money could have gone. But instead, they give this money out to these smaller organizations, and then these organizations kind of make concessions for them. And so that's kind of the take that I had. It reminded me of this kind of alternative power structure that Christianity is trying to, maybe exist as. I don't know. Little bit of a stretch there, but kind of reminded me of some other parallels. Aaron, what say you?
This organization and probably similar organizations, they kind of confuse me because they just seem to be trading money back and forth with each other. According to the reporting in this article, this group, Servant, I guess is what they're called. They used to be part of the National Christian Foundation. But ever since they split, they've been just kind of trading money back and forth. The Servant gave the NCF $307 million, followed by another $11 million. Then it received 200. Oh no, I've got them back. So the NCF gave Servant $307 million, then another 11. And then Servant gave them back $222 million between 2018 and 2021. And it's just this weird, why are they just trading money back and forth? This article is just giving me more questions than answers. And I figured if you're a charitable organization, why aren't you spending your money? It shouldn't be going out to charitable causes and to help people. But I guess there's these donor assisted funds. Did I give that term right? And so in these donor assisted funds, they don't have to. There's no real regulations around them. Like you can just give them the money and they can keep it. They can move it around. They don't have to earmark it for anything in particular. They don't have to eventually give it to anybody. You
can ask them to donate it in a particular thing, but because they donated and you don't, it becomes an anonymous donation and nobody knows who gave it. It's a real confusing thing.
There's zero transparency. And I really like your point earlier, Kelley. Like if you're openly, if you believe this stuff and you want to support it, why are you, why aren't you why are you doing this anonymously? What are you trying to hide? And it's most likely because the groups that they're donating to, they don't support the rights of women. They don't support the LGBTQ community. And who knows what other shenanigans they are up to. And so it gives me I'm looking at it with a stink eye because they're just not being transparent. They're not being open. And it's pretty obvious where the money does actually end up, what their real goals are. And, I'm kind of torn on the anonymous issue because to a certain extent, sometimes you do want to give anonymously. Like didn't Christ say, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, right? Don't seek praise. Don't do good to receive praise from other people. But at the same token, I just think there's some shenanigans going on here. Richard, what do you have to say?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, just hearing you guys talk about this brings back memories of Cayman Islands and Swiss numbered bank accounts and mafia. I mean, there's money moving around. And the question that I would have about it moving around is who's skimming parts of it as it goes back and forth? Somebody's, there's some people somewhere that are making money out of this. I mean, to me, the big reason, obviously, why they're hiding it is because if they have any brains, they know that Gen Z doesn't like the kind of negative discrimination they have. And so if that comes, that's why I said, in the thing I wrote up earlier, when are they going to let these people know what their real politics are? They're going to recruit these young people. And then after they get them fully indoctrinated, oh, and by the way, we're anti-LGBTQ. So, I'm sorry, but your gay friend that wanted to be in this group can't be in it. Or, you're going to have to stop going to those drag shows you like to go. I mean, when are they going to be honest with the people they're recruiting? I mean, to me, being involved in a lot of different political things for many years, the one thing, if you really want to get people involved and keep them, you got to be straight with them. And this is like grossly dishonest from the get. I mean, it's just crazy that they're giving all this money to these discriminatory organizations, and they're playing all this pious, come join us, Jesus wants you and Jesus is going to be good to you. But by the way, we have these secrets we're not going to tell you about. So I don't know. It seems like somewhere along the line, who was it? One of you guys put in one of your things about the notes about how, the more people read the Bible, the sooner they become atheists. Well, the sooner these people find out what they're doing, they're not going to be involved anymore. So it's almost like they're doing this money thing so they can keep the money, knowing that sooner or later, when, a lot of Gen Z people are very smart, they're online, they check things out, they talk to each other in all kinds of chat rooms, they're going to find out about this stuff that we found out about. And then they're going to say something to the people like, hey, are you guys really into this? Well, maybe, and then they're going to say, screw you, we're gone. So Kelley, how long is it going to last?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's one that I actually thought about. And because here you got basically the He Gets Us campaign is like the Buddy Christ campaign, right? So, right, it's what it is. And if the people that they're appealing to with that, and it is trying to draw young people into the church, if they knew they were giving money to these hate groups, I don't think that those young people would be being drawn into the church, and I certainly don't think they'd be given their money for it. So I think that's why we have to set up these funds where they can donate anonymously, so nobody knows that their money just went to a hate group. They thought they were giving it to a nice church, but it ends up going to a hate group, and they don't even know. They don't even know what happened because it was all done in secret. And I think that's really shitty. I hate to say it, but it is. And one of the things that really brings up the most questions to me is why, and you touched on it, Aaron. Why does it all have to remain anonymous in its giving? Why it's got to be all secret? Surely, if God wanted their spending, was behind where their money was going, they wouldn't have to hide it. Why all the secrecy? What's the problem here? Are they afraid that most Christians that support the He Gets Us campaign would be against funding a hate group? I really think so. And if you actually go to their website, it doesn't just say He Gets Us, it says He Gets Us, all of us. And wouldn't that include the very people that the ADF is fighting against? It seems like it to me. What do you think, Jimmy?
Well, I think that is a very good point. And I do think that this is a multifaceted approach or a multifaceted problem that they have, because it's clear that they know that they're on the side of what is wrong, at least as the zeitgeist of our society is concerned, right? I think that most people, young people especially, are the ones that are less likely to entertain such practices or entertain the idea of supporting a group or multiple groups that support hate groups. On the flip side, they need the young people, and so they can't come clean, in being straight up with their constituents, if you will. They would really do some damage for them. They need the young people, so they can't really, and they need everybody really, is if you look at the church numbers and the decline of how much the church was bringing in 50 years ago compared to what they're bringing in now, they could use all the attendance that they could get. So they're in this position where, well, we can't really tell them what we're up to because we need them. But what's funny to me, that the church and Christian organizations need money, but these people are giving it to each other. They're giving it to $300 million Super Bowl ads. What does that tell you about where their priorities lie? They could use that money to do something good and actually draw positive publicity to themselves and actually draw people in, and they would probably increase their profits exponentially. But instead, they're being secretive because, well, they just can't let the truth out. And so that's what I think about that. Aaron, I think that speaks a little bit about what you were talking before. How did I do as far as my synopsis there?
You stole my thunder mostly. I agree with 100% with what you said. But when Kelley was talking, I realized, why does God need a starship? To quote Star Trek 5, for any Star Trek fans out there, why does God need money? right? Isn't God? Doesn't God have the means to bring hearts and souls to him without ads, without all these religious donations, with all this money?
He's got to outpay the free will.
I supposedly the Holy Spirit, can whisper into your hearts. Why doesn't God just whisper in everybody's hearts and save everybody the money, and then whisper in everybody's hearts? Why don't you take that money and help people that need it? Help people who are unhoused. Help people who have drug addictions. Help people who are on hard times. That seems like a way more useful use of your money, and let God do the proselyting. That's what it seems like to me. Richard, you had something you wanted
just
to add?
a quick thought. That 300 million for the Super Bowl ad, is that what you said? Okay, just think about this. Maybe we could investigate. Maybe somebody could find out who's the ad agency that placed that and got a 10% commission. That's $30 million. So
people who see these groups as suckers.
No, they probably have one of their buddies doing that. That's the way it all works in this kind of situations. They put it through a friend. He gets the 30 million kickback. So that's why they spend the money, so they can actually get 30 million for themselves. And then they don't have to do anything over the rest of their life. I mean,
and nonprofits do have paid salaries.
Yeah.
Well, this is why people should be scared, because these kind of power dynamics, these power politics, if you will, are not just operating independently anymore. They are increasingly crossing the line between the separation of religion and government. And so it's not just rich and powerful Christian organizations helping each other out. Now they're putting people on the Supreme Court. That's a big claim, and that is maybe a topic of a different discussion. But as far as the funding and donations and things like that go, this is why I think that we need to be in the know of what's happening.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'm not sure how donations go to regular nonprofits versus religious nonprofits, but there needs to be some parity there. Like I believe regular nonprofits, they have to open up their books and show where the money's coming and where the money's going. But guess which nonprofits don't have to do that?
Yep.
That's really interesting that they get special treatment, and I don't think they should. I came out of Mormonism, and there's been allegations against them for many, many years on what they're doing with their money and how much money they have and what they're not doing with their money. And I think it might shock people to have that kind of transparency and visibility. And I know it can be hard to be transparent and honest and visible, but it gives everybody all the facts. And man, I'd really like to get a look at some of these groups' books and really understand where the money's coming from, where it's going, how it's getting spent. I think there's a reason. There's a reason why it's not. There's a reason why it's hidden, why people keep things like that hidden.
You could correlate that with the fact that all the presidents before Trump disclosed their tax returns, and he wouldn't. Same thing. Lack of transparency.
And I think we need more transparency nowadays. I
Absolutely.
Really do.
I think it's crazy that in this day and age, we as a society, and not we here on the panel, but in mass, are granting much more credence to fairy tale and folklore than we are to fairness in law and order. It's insane. It's insane that priests and pastors at their pulpits get to speak about politics, but other nonprofit organizations,
can't.
Have to be mum. Yep.
Yeah.
Could that be part of the reason why Mr. Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, wants to get rid of those new IRS agents with the Israel bill?
They just want to get rid of the IRS completely.
Well,
I think
they got to keep them around somewhat.
That's been a goal of some of the people in Congress for decades.
Yeah, so, keep the imbalance, keep the rich.
They have to have some money coming in so they can do their, things that they want to do, but they don't want it coming from certain people.
Fair enough. But we want you certain people to keep coming here and see more of the nonprofits. Click right here.